Alrighty, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to start talking about manual AC controls, which we will be definitely, well, it's going to be very difficult to do this one for sure, because most of the control units we have in the shop are going to be automatic, and we'll get more into automatic as we go along too, as far as the control units. So this is going to be on your older systems. You may still see a few of them out there, some of the older cars. So I wanted to cover this along with the automatics, which you'll probably see more of as we go along. But let's go ahead and get started. I want to go ahead and share this, my little presentation. All right, let's get it rocking and rolling. All right, so this is, like I said, we're going to start getting into manual controls. So these are, more of the lever controls, the dial controls, not like the automatics, but the automatics are going to be a little bit different. We'll go over that as we go along. But we're going to talk, kind of what I'd like to cover. And I probably should put it instead of objectives, what I'd like to cover. We want to talk about how they differ from the automatics, and also how the automatics have actually progressed, which we'll get into the automatic part of it. But I want to try to identify some of the parts that are in the manual systems, and we'll talk about the modes. We've really went into the mode doors already, and this is going to kind of come back to that same talk we did before. And then we're going to talk about some of the major components that are in it. And I've got some slides on that also. And how they operate, how they operated back when we were doing those. So as we've been talking, we need to be able to, for comfort, to control the temperatures, and also, which kind of relates with the humidity, because again, kind of talking more again about the AC system doesn't only control the temperature, but also the humidity, and also our AC system direct airflow. So the airflow, which we've been covering quite a bit, and we want to make sure we understand how all that works. So the manual controls, not just in the automatics and also in the manual side, we control the compressor. Now, whether it be from push button, lever, or pull cable, that's where my old 63 had. It had literally pull cable to turn the AC compressor on. So we're going to control the compressor. Let's put it this way. We're not really controlling it anymore. We used to control it. We used to manually control it. Now with the automatic system, we're actually controlling it. The computer is actually controlling it. Let's put it that way. So we're going to have a possibility of a heater shutoff valve, where we totally cancel out any kind of coolant flow to the heater core. Blend doors, we're going to actually manually move them either through a vacuum control or through a cable type of system. And then also the circulation door, whether it be a blend door or redirecting airflow through different parts of it. And also we're going to be controlling the blower motor. We talked a little bit on the basics overview, like a brief overview of the manual system, but now we're going to get more into the really down to the nitty gritty on how it controls that blower motor too. So the compressor clutch engaging, or if it has a system that doesn't have a clutch on it, how does it all start off? And talk about the blend door and the blower motor again. So, and I'm kind of repeating myself here, but there's a lot of steps as we go along and how it actually goes. So what we're going to be controlling on the HVAC system, so we're going to be talking about the heat, we'll talk about the vent, we'll talk about the defrost, and then we'll also get into the air conditioning mode of it also. So, you've seen this before, but we're going to go into these basic stuff again, and we're going to really kind of hopefully fine tune it down. So with this, what we're doing is this diagram, we're showing the different doors that are in place. So we have down here the heat door that will turn off the heat or turn on the heat depending on what mode door we're in, what mode we're in. And then of course our evaporator over here, like we've talked about before, and you'll notice these kind of funny little things. These are little vacuum pods. These are what's controlling that movement, the different door movements. So where we have a defrost going up, we have a recirculation door going here, or we have a the air door we're blocking off to the evaporator, and then of course our filter, which are in all the cars nowadays, and then the blower motor itself also. So AC, we're taking the inside and recirculating it across like we talked in our other diagram before. So we'll start off with that. Well, let's start off with that. We're going to go ahead and talk about, the different dials might say max or recirculation. So this is what they're talking about. So we put our dial at, this one actually has a low. We're taking the outside air and we're actually blocking that part off, and we're actually recirculating the air from the inside. So this door will be circulating, just taking it around. So you'll notice that this door is closed. This is where the filter was, okay, from the outside coming in. And now we're just taking all the air and moving it through the blower motor through the heater control, through the actual evaporator, and then going up and out our registers like this. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to kind of point out on this too is you'll notice that the heater is turned off. So we actually have the heater door blocked on this particular mode. And then we also have the normal, which will have a little bit of outside air coming in through the blower motor and blowing off. So we could have an actual blend of this. You'll notice that this was totally outside air coming in and going across and outside the registers. And then, excuse me, we have the vent where, we're not turning the AC on. It's more of a, we're just getting fresh air inside of it. And then bi-level, so we're going to actually go to the floor, then we're going to go up through the registers, and we're going to come out. All right. Also outside air coming in. And then bi-level heat, so we're going to actually start incorporating the heater into this one. So it's blocked off through, but we're still coming up. And then we're going to start getting into the heat positions as we go across. And you'll notice this is going on. What the heck's going on here? Well, we're using defrost. Remember I told you before that we actually, when we go into defrost mode, that AC is used to dehumidify the windshield. Makes it a lot nicer for the, it takes the moisture off the windshield. That's what I'm trying to get at. And to do that, we use the AC system along with it also. So here we're actually going to the defrost, total defrost. So we're just going to take outside air, maybe hopefully it's drier, and then we'll go through the evaporator down through the heater core, and we're going to pick up all of that moisture along the way also. So if a vehicle has only a heating and ventilation system, then it's going to be pretty much in a manual system. In the old, actually early on, you only had maybe a heater or no heater, and then you just may not even have a blower motor, just crank down the windows. Then they started adding heaters into them. And actually, air conditioning was an actual add-on. A lot of times the dealerships, it wasn't from factory, it was added on at the dealership. And later on, they start seeing that, the demand for air conditioning, especially out here in California. And they started making it so it was, regular equipment. All cars came out with air conditioning, which really helped with the defrost part of it. It is really difficult to find a car nowadays without air conditioning. A friend of mine actually ordered a car for his ex-wife, she was the ex-wife at the time, and ordered it without air conditioning. Okay, which, I think it was kind of a little jab there, but she got mad and actually made him put air conditioning in her car. And it actually was kind of a sweet little thing. I did it for him, and it come in a kit, come with everything. Already had all the knockouts and everything it was a kind of a really sweet deal, because you didn't really have to do a whole lot to it. It pretty much, this one was pretty basic, manual controls on it, and it had an actual button replacement. So it would be a button add-on for the AC. Already had the wiring in place. That's how they did it. They had everything in place. It's just a matter of hooking everything up and getting all the extra parts and putting into it. So I'll say, so this, manual control is actually good for the driver, and like it says right here, and it is, the control that it uses a lot of times, it's called the control head. So let's see what it controls on the manual side. Now, it kind of went over a bunch of it, but manual controls actually mechanically control the actual AC compressor coming on. So it's going to be a switch, lever, or a cable on it. And then also we had vacuum control. So it could be a manually mechanical control of the doors, or it could be a vacuum operated control on the doors. And then there's also an electrical part of it. So there's 3 different pieces going on here, basically going on. So the blower motor is controlled electrically, like we know, and it operates through an actual electric motor, through a resistor board or a resistor pack, and this is what got the airflow going through. Okay, then on our mode doors, instead of being an electrical motor, really, we either had a vacuum controlled door or a mechanical controlled door. And that was also with the temperature control part of it. So this was actually, some of them had that cable, it had, or a stepper type motor that moves the blend door type thing. And it was very, it was mechanical, let's put it that way. So your dashes would look similar to this, not uncommon. Instead of just punching in the temperature, you would actually be the adjuster of the actual temperature, like that. So you would have one dial for the blower, so it gets to different speeds, and then you would actually have another dial for the temperature. So you would actually move the temperature back and forth until you were happy with it, instead of programming in like 74 degrees and keep it there all the time. It wouldn't do it that way. But the newer cars are pretty much most of them, you dial in the temperature and the computer, the control module takes over for you, and it'll adjust the blower speed, and it will also adjust the actual temperature because you program it. Now you can't, and a lot of systems have an override. Now we'll get in more into this, but we're going to go into talking about deeper into about zone control, which is a different it's similar, but a little bit different. So you can have one temperature for the passenger, one temperature for the driver. You may even have 3 zones instead of a dual zone where it actually has a temperature for your passengers in the back too. So instead of just the passenger here, it would actually have temperature adjustments for there also. So electronic controls, these are there were fully electronic panels later on. So these we'll get into as we go along when we get into our automatic controls. But what I want to do is start getting into some of the the archaic older system like that. Now this is an old cable system, and this was actually for adjusting the door. Where was it, this would be for the temperature. I'm sorry, this is one's for the temperature. If you look up here, this is the temperature, cool to warm, and then there would be another cable down here for adjusting the door, where the door position would be. So either the max, minimum, or like that. So this is how it actually was put together. This is all cabled in. It had a lever here. So it would be clipped in on this particular one. And then you would, this would self-adjust, the clip on. So when you got it into position, it would slide back and forth, and it kind of grab onto where that position when you got to the right position on there. These were the older systems, and unless you were in a shop that actually, is an air conditioning shop, you might see some of these. So this is why I want you to understand and see how this is. So vacuum controls, we could have a multiple vacuum system where it has little diaphragms that actually moves the door motor around. This is not uncommon. This is a push button type of control system where you actually push a button and it would actually run the vacuum to move these little vacuum motors, as they call them, and open and close doors this way. You can start seeing some of the problem that you might have. You might have a problem with vacuum leaks going across. Even that control unit would leak on occasion, and you wouldn't get a full pull of the door. And these were replaceable parts on a lot of systems. Sometimes you had to replace the whole control head. Sometimes you can actually have individual parts into it, except for that big old cable system. That had the whole system had to be replaced. And the cables would have to be replaced sometimes too. This is another way that they had it. So you notice that these different vacuum hoses had colors to them. And you would have to buy the whole wiring of the vacuum harness, not wiring hose, but the vacuum harness if you wanted to actually, you got a broken hose or something like that. Or you could actually replace it. A lot of times, it wasn't the greatest thing to do because the way some of it was done was not that great of a deal, and you would have possible leaks as you go across too. Now, there were vacuum reservoirs that actually, because it was vacuum, and then as we know, as the engine accelerates into a hard acceleration, vacuum drops. So we need to have some kind of a device to actually hold vacuum in the line, or we'd lose all our vacuum. And that would happen on occasion too. So we would have almost like a little vacuum check valve to keep the vacuum into the controls and keep that at that position we wanted. If you had a system where the old system where all you got was air up to the defrost, you knew you had a vacuum reservoir have a problem, or that the reservoir usually had a hole in it, or one of the vacuum hoses had a hole in it. So, like I was just saying a minute ago, as the vacuum totally increases on a hard acceleration, it drops the vacuum in system, and then it causes that to happen. That's why you see a lot more electric motors and stuff like it. It's precise there, doesn't lose any of the as it goes around. Don't have to worry about vacuum hoses either. So here is one of the vacuum reservoirs. This is a ball size one. They had different types, but this was the basic that they one that you've seen on a lot of applications. So the vacuum would go in. This actually has cruise control, I can tell right here. So it had vacuum going into the reservoir, vacuum probably over to this cruise control, and this was the feed line out to the intake manifold. So this was very common back when, and it's kept enough vacuum inside here that when you needed it on hard accelerations, it would be there. If this got a hole in it, somehow, some way, then you would have a problem again. So this is kind of a different system. This was an auxiliary vacuum pump that you would have on some system. Some of the 4100, 4500 Cadillacs didn't produce a lot of vacuum, and this would be a problem. If you had a diesel engine, you would have to have some other source of vacuum on the system, and this would be something that would be added on to the system to help with the vacuum supply. Okay, so this was not uncommon. If you had a engine that didn't produce a lot of vacuum, or if you had like a diesel vehicle. So the manual HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems. Like I said before, there would be switches, the electrical, of course, but your blower speeds would be also adjusted, and along with all this going on. And it just really depended on what kind of system you had. This is kind of a similar type system on it. This would be like a 3-speed system on it. You would have 1, 2, 3, which would be your full AC system, full blower motor, and it would be a little mechanical switch as you went across. Now, they did put a high blower motor on this particular one, so you would do 1, 2, 3, 4, and that fourth one would be full to the blower motor. So you'd be given all of it. So we would resist 3 of them, and then we would actually have that actual high speed by bypassing everything. And our vacuum solenoids, okay, so these were the ones that were controlling the doors. So you would have a shaft, and you apply vacuum or take vacuum away, and it would move that shaft. You can see the possible problem here. A diaphragm could get a hole in it. That shaft, there's all kinds of things that could actually happen as the age of the vehicle went on. So you would get holes in the diaphragm, you get holes in the lines. These are all kinds of systems that we had to deal with back in the day. So you change the diaphragm, the actual vacuum pods or diaphragms out. And it wouldn't be a matter of taking them apart and putting a new diaphragm in. It would be a matter of the whole component would be replaced. There was, some of the solenoid systems that were put into place would actually have a step of different directions and all for the actual vacuum pods to go. And you can see all these different vacuum hoses, and they're all colored. And this would actually be the direction of the vacuum doors. So we'd have a pod that would actually close the heater off. We'd have a door that would close the AC partially off. We'd have a door for the outside air. We'd have a recirculation door. All these would be done by different, a lot of times they call them vacuum motors, or sometimes they call them, they would call them actually stepper motors, which were really vacuum motors. So electrical components, they, of course, like we talked before, would have an electrical circuit. And this is really common type of electrical circuit I wanted to show you before we close this up. This is not uncommon. This is how we would have some of the AC systems going. And you would have, like your power come on. Remember I told you about the power went from on the top, and then we all went down to the ground. And that's how we actually we laid it out, how they laid it out, so everybody would understand how the flow of it all would go. So up on top, we have a fuse over here. Now you notice it's not always going to be saying AC fuse. This one actually had a gauge fuse that fed the AC compressor relay. And then we'll get more into this as we go along. And here we do have an AC compressor fuse. Well, this was the part where we'd have to feed it to the compressor. Now, relays are fun to play with, and we'll get deeper into that as we go along. But depend on the power, the old mechanical systems were just like a go, no go. Now, on the we still had, with the newer computer systems, cars that were controlling a lot of, we still had some of them that actually still were considered mechanical. They weren't controlling the AC, they were controlling the engine management system on it. So then we went into a full, automatic HVAC, which we'll talk about next. But this is what we're really talking about. It still had to go through the computer to turn it, to apply that power circuit. Okay, so that would say, okay, we're good to go. I see everything good. I'm going to go ahead and give it the ground side. So we got power side, I'm going to give it the ground side. So then that relay, the relay is a magnetic, produces a magnetic field. That circuit produces a magnetic field and closes that switch. When it closes that switch, it allows, okay, so boom, comes across, allows power to come across, and the AC compressor comes on. So that AC compressor comes on, starts turning the AC compressor, and then it comes here to my ground on this side here. So it completes that circuit. Then we also have to have for the blower motor and the control also for where depending on, again, if it's a mechanical, it's going to have that blower speed going on it. So we're going to have high, medium, low. And we may even have some of the early systems where it actually started controlling with electric motors. Still not fully automatic, but it still started controlling with electric motors and stuff like that. So we had four different parts is what I'm trying to get at. All right. So hopefully it's beneficial and it'll help you out a little bit. We'll get into automatics. I know I could just go deep into this rabbit hole on the manual systems because I've worked on so many of them along the way, but I don't think you're going to have that much of a benefit. If you do want to talk more about the manual systems, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will definitely help you out as much as possible. And if you ever come with that problem, just let me know. And again, I'll try to help you out. You can email me, text me. All right. Bye for now. All right. We're going to go ahead and close this off, and I'll be back with you on the next section. Take care now.